Um, this video, um, I'm basically making this up, okay? I'll tell you this straight from the start. This is completely against any sort of established ideas that, like official ideas about anything. This is me sort of giving my opinion. It is definitely not something that you should take to heart, let's put it that way. It's something that I think is worthy of a discussion, and I think that the people who are actually qualified to make these sort of decisions really should pay attention to this. And the other thing I want to say is it's not like I'm trying to come up with an us versus them or a hierarchy that says I'm better than you or whatever. That's not what this is about. Okay, the reason why I want to discuss this is because I truly think that we're talking about two different beasts here, and so I think that collapsing them all into one thing, and that's how people talk about them and study them, it doesn't work for personality disorders anywhere near as well. And so if they accept that it's not the same, and then they start doing studies on it and research, that they might find a better way. And so this is why I'm saying this. So now I suppose 2 minutes in, I should get to the point, huh? And that is, I think that personality disorders should not be sort of under the heading of mental illness. I think they should be considered a separate thing, a completely separate thing. And again, it's because I think that they are so different in how they manifest that, and especially that the treatments, the normal mental illness treatments, do not work for personality disorders. So, just to start off, the definition of a mental illness is a mental health condition with disorders that affect your mood or your thinking or your behavior. That is the definition of mental illness. Definition of a personality disorder is a deeply ingrained maladaptive pattern of behavior which causes long-term permanent difficulty in relationships and with functioning within society. That's what a personality disorder is. Now, when I actually started questioning this, why is it considered mental illness? And they said the reason, how's this? This is like bogus, but a true answer is because the definition of mental illness is so broad that yes, it does qualify. It's it does. It affects it affects your mood and your thinking and your behavior. Therefore, it is a mental illness. That's just too broad. So the reason why I think they are different is mental illnesses, not all of them, but most of them, and more and more and more of them, there are medications that can help people, and there are specific types of therapies that can help people, and it's not just that they're making them feel a little bit better, but they can actually get people to the point where with the medication they're cured. These behaviors, they might come back every once in a while, they wouldn't be so extreme, but they're cured. They're curable. I mean, not all mental illnesses are curable, but a good lot of them are. And of course, there are individual cases where, you might have something that would be curable in somebody else, but it's not for your specific case. Just like cancers, a lot of cancers they are curable, and people still die of them. So you could have a mental illness that could be curable for somebody else, and it's not curable for you. That doesn't mean it's not curable. You know what I mean? Because a personality disorder absolutely is not curable at all. And you could give them medications that are supposed to affect, this or that or the other. They don't work on personality disorder people the same way that somebody else takes it. Like, for instance, mood disorder medication, which I have to tell you, I've never taken. Mostly because my mood, comparatively, is extremely stable. I stay in the middle line, sort of. I mean, I don't get really, really happy, and I don't get really, really sad. Generally, I'm sort of functionally depressed. But again, that's part of being avoidant. And that's the other thing is, depressed for somebody else is normal for a person with avoidant personality disorder, because to have avoidant personality disorder, you have to have anhedonia. Let's totally mispronounce it for you people. But anyway, so it doesn't work. So I do know somebody who has avoidant personality disorder who did take a mood disorder, and it didn't, who took mood disorder medication, and it didn't sort of keep them in check. It just completely, totally numbed them out. And they were incapable of feeling anything at all. And again, the reason is, which I've said this 900 million times, the difference between, say, depression and a personality disorder is the personality disorder is your personality. It's who you are. And depression is a chemical imbalance in the brain. And it's the same with mood disorder. If you have, a problem where you're flying off the handle or whatever, and, like, for example, and I always bring them up, but borderline personality disorder generally does not actually respond to a mood disorder medication the way you would expect it to. You would think this would be perfect because these people, when they're untreated and they haven't really learned how to counteract their sort of panic when they have their triggers, which is what causes a lot of the borderline responses. It's just, panic and extreme reactions. You give them the mood disorder medication, it doesn't keep them from panicking. It doesn't keep them from overreacting. It does numb them out so they actually can't be happy. Who would want that? Come on, it doesn't work, okay? So borderline, thankfully, does have a therapy that works really, really well for them, which is, the DBT basically gives them ground to stand on, because they feel like they're so completely out of it and untethered, and nothing is real. Not in this world is odd, but I mean, it's like, they don't believe their emotions, they don't trust their emotions, they don't trust anybody else, and it's about impossible for them to sort of say, okay, this is the same emotion that I had yesterday, and so if I react the same way, the same thing is going to happen. I mean, that sort of doesn't register for them. And that's an overstatement and an understatement, and people who are borderline are going to be angry as heck at me for saying that, because they're always angry at everything, I have to say. But seriously, I know a lot of them get prescribed medications, but I've talked to people who are borderline, who are on mood medications, and I'm not telling you not to take pills, okay? Because I really think that people should try absolutely everything, because you never know, it might work. And a teeny tiny dose of a mood stabilizer might be enough for you to, handle getting a job. I mean, it's definitely, if it's not working, then the idea that, okay, well, I just stuff you with more and more and more and more and more, you know, let's give you 6 different prescriptions because the first one didn't work. If you have a personality disorder, it just doesn't work. It's not mental illness. You can't cure it with pills. You can't cure it ever. You can't cure it, period. So that's one, is that, you know, it's not the same as that, because medical interventions do not work for personality disorders. It's your personality is not a brain chemical disorder. Therefore, that is different from mental illness. And therefore, if they're going about it the same way that they do other mental illnesses, which is just find a pill that fixes it, I mean, that would be great. I would love it. I'm not exaggerating. I would take it and I would cherish it if they gave me a pill that would sort of get me over this. And, you know, I don't think that being, you know, having avoidant personality disorder, I don't think my personality is so awful. I think there are aspects of it that are actually better, relatively, than the standard. You know, you look at how regular people act and how selfish they are, etc. And I'm like, you know, I'd rather be avoidant than act like that. You know, that's the truth, okay? I'm not saying that I hate avoidant personality disorder. I think there are aspects. This is one of the things, once you've had it for a while and you've accepted it and you understand that these are your limitations and this is it, you've got to handle life within these limitations, you don't completely hate and detest everything of it. You just wish that you could function a little bit better and be able to interact with people more and trust them a bit more than you do. But I would take a pill if they could do it. But they're never going to find a pill that's going to work on avoidant personality disorder, because it's a personality. You know, even if they came out with one, it would be scary as hell, because that means they have developed a pill that changes people's personalities. That is terrifying. That is like, you know, 1984 type crap. That would be awful if they could actually create a pill that permanently changed somebody's personality. Oh my God, that would be awful. Okay. Also, regular therapies do not work. They don't work the way that they're supposed to work. You know, and that happens. That's okay. That's okay. So you have to find a different way. So what works for regular, you know, the thing that I think works the best, I've said this before, is not normal therapy, like where you make a goal and start working toward it, or you do trauma therapy where you try to get over being so overexcited whenever you have a triggering moment that reminds you of trauma in the past. Those therapies don't work. I think what does work is having somebody that you're talking to on a regular basis, because then it sort of helps you build trust, and also something equivalent to life coaching. So, and which it's like this, you know, new wavy stupid thing that isn't going to work on anybody, and people make fun of it because nobody's licensed for it, and it's, you know, these people with their, you know, little crystal rocks saying, ooh, let's say a prayer to the goddess or whatever. And I know I am making fun of it, but seriously, it's lumped in with these people who don't have any training. So if you had somebody that was trained in therapy but did life coaching, then you might get somewhere with somebody who has had a personality disorder. But normal regular therapy, no, it doesn't work. You know, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it again, because eventually you're going to find a therapist that's not going to sit there and say, well, I learned this on day 3 of year 4, and therefore we're going to do it this way. And you'll get somebody who's willing to do something a little different. And every therapist that I've seen that actually has made an impact on somebody with avoidant personality disorder, that's what they've done. They've taken the rule book, they kind of thrown it out, and they know what they're doing, but they are willing to adapt and do what you need to do. So again, the normal dictation for what you do if somebody is mentally ill does not work if it's a personality disorder. And therefore, I really think that they should just be considered different things and not lumped together. And then maybe somebody will actually be able to find something that would help people a lot better than what the current, you know, procedures are.